Right now, at this very second, there's an absolutely incredible story unfolding inside your own body. It's a nonstop biological manufacturing process, and we're about to pull back the curtain on how it all works. The creation of your red blood cells. So let's follow the journey of these amazing little oxygen couriers, right from the very beginning. Okay, just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with, let's start with a number that's almost impossible to imagine. In just 1 liter of blood, an average adult male has about 5.5 trillion red blood cells. Yeah, that's trillion with a T. It's an astronomical figure, and your body is responsible for maintaining this entire fleet, every moment of every day. So that huge number is great, but how does it translate into something a doctor can actually use? Well, for men, a healthy range is somewhere between 4.5 and 6.5 million cells per tiny microliter of blood, with women usually being just a little lower. These numbers, and other things like packed cell volume and hemoglobin levels, are pretty much vital signs for your overall health.
So, where do these trillions upon trillions of cells even come from? Well, they're not just appearing out of thin air. Deep inside your bones, there's a highly sophisticated factory that's working around the clock, churning out every single one of them.
Now, this whole manufacturing process has a fancy scientific name, erythropoiesis. It sounds a bit complicated, but it just means the creation, the poiesis, of erythrocytes, which is the proper term for red blood cells. Getting a handle on this process is absolutely key to understanding how your body gets the oxygen it needs to survive. And what's really fascinating is that this factory doesn't just stay in one place its whole life. Not at all. In the very early days of a fetus, production actually starts in the yolk sac. Then it moves over to the liver and the spleen. It's only around the time we're born, and for the rest of our adult lives, that the bone marrow, in places like our spine, ribs, and pelvis, takes over as the main production hub. Once a new cell is born in that factory, it's not ready for duty just yet. Oh no. Every single red blood cell has to go through this intense training and transformation journey. You can think of it like a biological boot camp designed to turn a generic stem cell into a highly specialized, expert oxygen delivery machine. And this is what that assembly line looks like. It all kicks off with the pro-erythroblast. That's the first cell in the lineup that we can really recognize. From there, it moves through a few stages, like the basophilic and polychromatic erythroblast. This is where it's dividing like crazy and starting to make hemoglobin. By the time it becomes an orthochromatic erythroblast, it's almost there. The very last stage before it's a full-fledged adult is the reticulocyte, which is basically a teenage red blood cell about to be released into the bloodstream. And the transformation it goes through is just dramatic. I mean, look at this. It starts off pretty big, but then it shrinks down quite a bit. Its nucleus gets smaller and denser until eventually it gets kicked out entirely. And the most obvious change is the color of its cytoplasm, the inside of the cell. It goes from this deep blue, which signals it's busy making proteins, to a classic pink color, as it gets absolutely jam-packed with all that oxygen-carrying hemoglobin. And this right here is the most metal moment of its entire life. To become the perfect oxygen courier, the cell literally ejects its own nucleus. It sacrifices its command center, its brain, and its ability to ever divide again, all to make as much room as possible for hemoglobin. From this point forward, it's on a one-way mission. But how does the body even know when to make more cells? It's definitely not random. The whole thing is controlled by this brilliant, super responsive smart system. And the manager of this whole operation is a hormone you might have heard of called erythropoietin, or just EPO for short. So it all starts with a trigger. Let's say you go to a high-altitude city, or maybe you just had a really intense workout. Your body detects this state of low oxygen levels in the blood, which is known as hypoxia. This is the alarm bell going off. And who hears that alarm? Your kidneys. They act like these incredibly sophisticated oxygen sensors. When they sense hypoxia, they respond by releasing the hormone EPO into your bloodstream. And the lower the oxygen, the more EPO they pump out. That EPO then travels through your blood until it reaches the bone marrow factory. You can think of it as a direct order. We need more oxygen couriers out in the field. Now, ramp up production. The bone marrow gets that message loud and clear and immediately speeds up the whole erythropoiesis assembly line. So what happens next? With all these new red blood cells jumping into circulation, the blood's capacity to carry oxygen shoots way up. More oxygen gets delivered to all your tissues, and that hypoxia that started this whole chain reaction, it starts to go away. Problem solved. And here is the truly beautiful part of this whole system. It's a perfect feedback loop. As soon as the kidneys sense that oxygen levels are back to normal, they cut the EPO signal. Production in the bone marrow then slows right back down to its normal everyday maintenance level. It's a perfectly self-regulating system. Just brilliant. So now our cell is fully mature. It's been released from the factory and is out in the wild, busy in the bloodstream. Its mission has officially begun. But what does its life actually look like out there? On average, a healthy, mature red blood cell circulates in your body for about 120 days. That's 4 months. For 4 straight months, it tirelessly travels through your veins and arteries again and again, picking up oxygen in the lungs and dropping it off wherever it's needed. After that, it gets a bit worn out and is eventually recycled. And so, here it is, the finished product, the hero of our story. It's a non-nucleated biconcave disc. You know, that little dimple on both sides? That's not just for looks. It actually increases its surface area. It's also incredibly flexible, so it can squeeze through the absolute tiniest capillaries in your body. And of course, its interior is almost completely filled with hemoglobin, making it the perfect little vehicle for oxygen. So, to maintain that massive fleet of cells we talked about, your body's factory is churning out around 2 million new red blood cells every single second. Just try to wrap your head around that. It is an almost incomprehensible rate of production that works flawlessly, until it doesn't. So it leaves us with a pretty big question. What happens when this high-speed, high-stakes assembly line breaks